Okay, welcome everyone to Sunday Poetry. Doing further explorations into the wonderful world of haiku. Anyone got anything from your reading that you'd like to throw into the discussion here? Lovely thing about this kind of book is you can just about open it at random and find something that works.
Something happened to me this week. I was reading Tricycle online,
Ah,
and that's actually what brought me to haiku in the first place, was an article in there. And I didn't realize that they have the Buddhist magazine Tricycle, that they have competitions is the wrong word. No, but they have some wonderful haiku with explanations and diving deep into it. So the world is expanding. And they also said it was a good reminder for me to read each one 6, 7, 8 times.
right.
Things
Yeah,
slowly arise.
yeah, right, right. This is not beach reading. You know, you can't just whiz past it. It's not horizontal reading; it's vertical reading, which is good training for for our lives to be vertical lives, for us to be bringing more vertical consciousness, vertical mode of experiencing into everything we do, and and ideally not only the experience, the input being more on that vertical axis, but also our output, right, where our thoughts and our words and our actions are coming from, are less up here and more coming up from here. I used to actually I used to write for Tricycle magazine. I wrote. If you go back in their annals, I was writing film reviews for them for a while. So that was fun. The last one I did, you can find this one online. It's fun. Do you remember that animated feature a couple of years ago, Inside Out, about the little girl, and we were inside her head, and all the different emotions or their different characters, and they're all trying to grab hold of the control board, and so forth. Anyway, I reviewed that. Okay. Okay. Here's one by Elizabeth Searle Lamb. It's on page 102, if you want to see it. Pausing halfway up the stair, white chrysanthemums. Pausing halfway up the stair, white chrysanthemums.
Well, that person had to be visiting the San Francisco Zen Center.
Really? Tell
Well,
me about it, Scott.
they have a stairway up to the where you stay if you're going to stay there, sort of like a hostel, and they will put these unbelievable arrangements on the halfway up the stairs, or if you look over out the window there, you could see them in their little workshop making them as well. So that's the image I got right away, because it's a stairwell and they have it right there.
Great, great. On the the landing?
Yes, the
Right.
landing halfway up.
Right. Right.
By the way, this brings to mind, and just very quick, that in the film about Trunkpa, the chrysanthemums, the huge chrysanthemums they put into an arrangement. What do you call that? Ikebana?
That sounds right.
Yeah, and then Trunkpa and a couple of others, they bowed down to the arrangement, and then you can see on the film the arrangement bows to them.
Oh, how does that work?
I don't know, maybe just physics or maybe energy.
Okay. Excuse me one second. The sun is shifted and I got to get out of it. I'm moving to the dark side.
Anyway, that's Crazy Wisdom movie. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that film was produced by our friend Lisa Lehman.
And directed by Johanna Demetrakis, who
Right.
worked for my mother in the 60s in a marketing research firm, which is why when I said, hi, I loved your film, and I introduced myself, she said, Passon, I know that name.
Right. Small world. Yeah, very interesting film, by the way. Crazy Wisdom about the Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who was actually the first Tibetan Lama who really set up, and there were a few who visited before him, but the first to really settle in the US and teach here full time. And if you're not familiar with him, let's just say interesting character.
Probably notoriety, or what's the word for it? Also the first Lama in America to be known for impropriety.
Yeah.
Irreverence.
What year was that?
The film or the
act
Lama
of
when
the act of
Rinpoche
impropriety.
many years, many students. Yeah, he and he was an alcoholic. He was the enlightened alcoholic. It's funny, actually, you bring him up, Scott. I was just thinking about him today. I don't know, some part of my body was aching, and I was thinking about, because he was in a car crash when he was still quite young, and just I think everything hurt all the time. So he used to do a lot of drinking, I think, to just ease the physical pain, but supposedly, allegedly, behind all of that, he was awakened. So these things can be deeply mysterious. So anyway, pausing halfway up the stair, right? Let's hold off on the third line for the moment. Let's consider this, please. Pausing halfway up the stair. Do we usually do that? Do you usually do that? If you got stairs in your house, your stairs just a place for getting from the bottom to the top, or from the top to the bottom. If we could make the part where you're going up or down the stairs disappear, we would do that. That's like, okay, there's real living to do, real experiencing, real being, real, stuff in the upstairs, and there's real stuff in the downstairs. This in between is just connective tissue. That's like throwaway stuff.
What if you forgot something at the bottom of the stairs, halfway up?
Yeah, if you forgot something. Okay, yeah.
You consider the stairway consists of a lot of stairs, but this is halfway up a stair.
Halfway up. Oh, interesting. Halfway up the stair, singular. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Thank you, Bob. Halfway up the stair. I don't understand that.
Well, it just sort of makes the imagery of the location is smaller than the whole stairway. It's just a stair.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to visualize that. I don't know how to visualize that.
Well, I see it in terms of a foot traveling from one stair to another.
Oh, you're in mid-step.
Mid stair, not mid step.
No, but you're in halfway
yeah.
to, yeah,
Yeah,
halfway to going
yours-
to the next stair, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, that's very interesting because either way, like coming back to this thing I was starting to say, we want to, this is the trip up the stairs or the trip down the stairs is usually just something we want to get through to get to the real stuff, the good stuff. We go upstairs, we get to sleep or whatever we do upstairs. We're downstairs, we get to, cook or eat or something. In between is nothing. We're just making the transition, right? And of course, that is the real good stuff. That's the stuff that we ignore. The place where there's nothing useful to be engaged with, nothing useful to be fixated on. There's nothing to do, no doing, just being. Oh, just being. That rings a bell, right? So think of with the other kinds of connective tissue in your life. You're in you're in the office building. Here's your, or the school where I used to teach, right? You're in your classroom, you're teaching a class. Then you're in the cafeteria, you're having lunch. You're going down the hallway, that's just connective tissue, just something to get through. I remember I'm right now visualizing in particular this history teacher, the way she used to walk all the time, kind of leaning a little bit forward with her head down, thinking about stuff. And it always struck me that I knew she was not experiencing at all the walk down the hallway, right? Which in her case, it was very obvious from her posture, but it's what most of us do most of the time. The connective tissue, that's just throwaway time. And so here's something we could invite ourselves to do. Turn it around. Pay attention to the so-called useless time, the connective tissue time, and realize the other stuff in a way is kind of less valuable because there we're just caught up in just freaking stuff to do. It's a bedroom, we got sleep, kitchen, we got cooking, we got, here we have just being. There's the real good stuff.
It reminds me of what you were saying a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, about pausing when you eat. Because normally, even breaking down the act of eating, right, you're going from hunger to fed, and the goal is to be fed from hunger. Fed is upstairs, hunger's downstairs, whatever. But actually pausing to really digest the food is actually the core and the substance of the whole act itself. To just, stuff yourself like a snake, we won't get the nutrients the same way as if we actually slowly digest it and process and put our fork down. So I'm going to start eating on the stairs. Thanks.
Right. There's a wonderful teacher, I'm sure you've all heard me mention him, Charles Genoux, Buddhist teacher from Switzerland. And Bob has been to teachings of Charles's as well. And Charles has a whole system that he developed called gesture of awareness. And it consists of doing what he calls, what does he call them? Useless actions, something like that. And he has a book by that title. So you can read the book and get some of the flavor of it. But of course, the best thing is the live sessions with him, where he is walking us through, okay, take a step. Take a step. Raise your hand, put your hand, all this stuff that has zero utility. So it's not there for what it's doing, but just his skill, the subtlety with which he directs your attention to the simple experience of raising your hand or putting your hand down or touching someone else's shoulder or then taking your hand off their shoulder. Kind of just you, in that context, you coming into that awareness, coming into that the fullness of beingness, of presence. Now, so all of life then is halfway up the stair. Everything. This is, by the way, the Tibetan word for halfway up the stairs is bardo. Right? Bardo means the intermediate stages. Intermediate stages. Usually, most people who are familiar with this word, you're familiar with it through the so-called Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is really called the Tibetan Book of Awakening in the Bardo through hearing, something like that. So that's the bardo. What that's referring to is the bardo. It's B-A-R-D-O. If you put a T at the end, it's Bridget Bardo. That's something else. So the bardo between death and birth, between death and rebirth. That's mostly that the Tibetan Book of the Dead, so-called, is the book for navigating and for helping narrate people through. The sun keeps moving. For narrating people on their way through skillful navigation of the transition, the bardo between death and birth. But as my old teacher Nakchang Rinpoche used to point out, everything is a bardo. Every moment is the transitional moment between the previous moment and the next moment, right? We're always on the median. We're always on the island between the last island and the next island, and the thing is to be aware of that and to settle into it, to occupy it, to be fully present within it. And then we get the scent of the chrysanthemums, right? Then we get the ah, right? That's where clearly that's where the kensho, that's where the glimpse of transcendence in this haiku is, in that third line, right? You got to stop and smell the chrysanthemums, right? And that's in every moment is the opportunity to do that. Now there's also, if this may be ringing a bell for you, A.A. Milne, the author of Winnie the Pooh, also had two little books of childhood poems called When We Were Very Young and Now We Are Six. And one of them has a poem that goes as follows. Halfway down the stairs is a stair where I sit. There isn't any other stair quite like it. It isn't at the bottom. It isn't at the top. So this is the stair where I always stop. Halfway up the stairs isn't up and isn't down. It isn't in the nursery. It isn't in the town. And all sorts of funny thoughts run round my head. It really isn't anywhere. It's somewhere else instead.
Wow.
Yeah, there it is, my friends. Right. There it is.
I'm really happy that you read that. Because I wanted to share something, but because the steps, and I'm talking about staircase in a home, in my home. Okay, I would not do it in a public place. But often I feel like sitting on a step in the middle, not in the beginning, not at the first one, not at the top one, is some kind of a place of comfort. And if somebody else sit down there with you and have a conversation, it's very intimate. It's also on the whole big house or small house, this is a very tiny place to have a very special conversation or whatever with your kid or with another adult. And I myself always like to sit in it. So I'm so glad you read this
Hmm.
the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
it's probably halfway the step is a moment of comfort somewhere in between going up or coming down when your mind is busy, like, where am I going now? But in the middle there's
Yeah.
comfort come to your mind.
Must be
Okay,
the
I'm
Buddha.
going to a good place. I don't know. It
Yeah.
made me
Yeah.
feel comfortable to hear
Mhm.
that. It's really nice. Thank
Yeah. Yeah. Good, Bob.
I was going to say it's the Buddha's middle path.
It's the middle path. Yeah. It's the middle of everything.
Something
It's
about middle soon.
you.
my.
Exactly.
This is.
Right.
There's a Yiddish expression. My father, when we'd get dinner all ready and we would sit down, and then the phone would ring, and my father would say, "Ach, in mittendrinnen," means in the middle of everything. In mittendrinnen, and of course he always said it with exasperation. Anything you say in Yiddish, you sound exasperated. It just seems to be inherent in that language. Exasperated or dirty. In mittendrinnen, but everything is in mittendrinnen. We're always in the bardo. We're always in mittendrinnen. Everything isn't anywhere. It's somewhere else instead. I like the part in that A. Milne poem where it says, "It halfway up the stairs isn't up and isn't down. It isn't in the nursery. It isn't in the town." Right. So upstairs, the nursery, that's the bedroom for the kids. So that's sleep state. The town that's waking state. That's busyness. So not asleep, not awake. It's the other. It's the samadhi state. It's the transcendental state. Here's another one from Elizabeth Searle Lamb. It's on the next page. A plastic rose rides the old car's antenna, spring morning. A plastic rose rides the old car's antenna, spring morning.
Haiku of kitsch.
Haiku of kitsch. Yeah, yeah. Well, does the kitsch have Buddha nature? It's
Moo.
got moo.
Moo.
Moo. It's gotta. Yeah, yeah. But what's interesting, spring morning that's a totally traditional, haiku punchline. That one could be right out of a very traditional, Japanese haiku that's set out in the forest or on the, on the hills or, by the stream or something. Right? Very traditional. Okay, here's the eternal spring morning. But what's the surprise here? What's different from that?
It's a plastic rose.
Yeah, it's a plastic rose. Yes,
It's
the spring.
artificial.
The spring's being heralded by a plastic rose.
It's of
Is
a
it?
time.
Say it
Wasn't
again.
It's of a time.
Yeah.
Doesn't that? It's a very specific time.
Yeah.
And I don't
Can you be specific?
about what year it was.
Whatever
Whatever
you're saying. Are you saying a particular year or season or
Yes.
what? Uh-huh.
It's saying that the particular year, whenever we all had plastic roses on our antennas.
Right. So they don't do those anymore?
Have we seen them?
I'm still it's all a blur for me, Louisa.
I know. It's sort of like the
This is like
76 thing.
Yeah, this
on
is a
the
70s
phone.
thing. I'm seeing it on a Volkswagen.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, but it all comes back to, even if it's a plastic rose, it's part of the
Yeah.
continuum.
And it's still the continuum, and it's still spring.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still the artificiality of that can't detract from the authenticity of the spring. you know.
Exactly.
We
That's
we
what-
can't, the stuff that's true is true. The stuff that's real is real. The regeneration in every springtime, and for that matter, if we're really paying attention, the regeneration, the resurrection in every moment, because in every bardo, because we're always in the bardo. No matter how much plastic we put, artificiality. What else is artificial, right? We partake in a whole lot of artificial chit chat. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. All right. Right. How are you? Oh, I'm fine too. Right. All this superficial, artificial stuff, the plastic stuff, and yet we're still real. We can't help, no matter how much we engage in, what seems like artificial behavior. It's coming. We're genuine fakes.
Right.
We can't help it. I think that was a title. I think that was an Alan Watts book, How to Be a Genuine
Ew.
Fake. Yeah.
I met him.
You did?
Oh,
Where? When?
wow.
Sounds like there's a story. Tell
It's
us.
a story.
Yeah.
It is definitely a story. I met him on Mount Ptolemy,
Tamalpais.
Tamalpais,
Yeah.
where he lived nearby.
Yeah, on a houseboat in Tiburon.
I don't know what. Oh, he did live in a house. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is quite a story. I don't know if I should tell it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But
I see it coming, so keep going.
Alan, what?
Yeah.
I went to San Francisco, and then we went up to the Sausalito
Right.
to visit somebody we knew who was living on a houseboat,
Mhm.
weirdly next door to Shel Silverstein.
Yes.
Okay, I met Shel Silverstein.
That's great. By the way, in that same era, I saw Shel Silverstein on the street, on Haight Street, once or twice.
Oh, I think I saw you on
Haight Street. Okay.
on that year.
Okay. So go ahead, please.
Then my friend Nora and I went to Mount Tamal. What did you call it?
Tamalpais.
That's
Pius.
okay.
Yeah.
Just
I
get
always
to the
called
good
it-
part.
We just called it Mount Tam.
Yeah, okay, Mount Tam.
Yeah.
To a
Which by
place where
the
there-
way is where people used to go to the top of Mount Tam and take acid and wait for the UFOs to arrive. But please go ahead.
So I went up
Uh-huh.
there to the Mount,
Yeah.
to a place where there was an architect who had built these. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it was a nudist colony, or
Ah.
I shouldn't say that. It wasn't a colony. It was
Yes.
where we're undressed,
Right.
and there were all sorts of people there that amazing. It was
Mhm.
just an amazing experience. It sounded like I was on acid. I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a beautiful place,
Mm-hmm.
and there was so we were sitting around, and there were people that were visiting on this commune. I'm going to call it a commune.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, Alan Watts showed up. And of
Mhm.
course, I knew who he was, and it
Mhm.
was another amazing experience.
Mhm.
Clothed or naked though?
And I was naked.
Mm-hmm.
No, Alan Watts.
He was naked too.
Mm-hmm. Everyone was
We were-
naked, Scott. Yeah.
Everybody was naked.
Right.
There were people, amazing people there, and it was an experience. But I had already been reading his works, and
Mhm.
so it was amazing. I don't know any other word to describe it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was my experience. It was
This is irresistible. So you were then able to finally put a penis to the man.
I didn't really look
No, I was just thinking, you finally saw the face of the person you
Yeah,
read,
right.
that I had been reading about. Yes, it was all magical.
Yeah, yeah. It was the 60s, right?
It was the 60s,
Yeah,
but it was enlightenment right there in
Yeah.
front of me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He was one of those necessary people. Let's read another one.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, wait, I want to say one other thing about the plastic rose. One time, years ago, one of the long retreats I was on with Maharishi, and we were in the evening meeting or something, and somebody raised their hand and they were complaining about the facilities and saying, yeah, where we are, it's all so plastic. And Maharishi sat up in his seat. He said, plastic is the glory of God. So I
I
think,
like that.
yeah,
Great response, right?
yeah. And I think that really does apply to this haiku here. What is not the glory of God? Where,
Yes.
right? Okay, look at the one at the same page at the bottom. The old album, not recognizing at first my own young face. The old album, not recognizing at first my own young face. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting moment. The old album, not recognizing at first my own young face. So tell me about this. Tell me about how this strikes you.
At first, I found it very literal
Mm-hmm.
until I kind of let it roll around a little while. It almost seemed
Yeah, and let
simplistic.
me repeat, I've said this before, but always start with the literal.
Yeah,
Always,
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it definitely, and so at first I thought it was a little simplistic, but then not recognizing at first that feels a lot like what it would feel like to actually do that.
Yeah.
To be looking at this picture and then all of a sudden go, oh my God, that was
Yeah,
me.
that's me. Right. Yeah, and that's completely literal. And again, we have to first, in the most literal, direct sense, get what's going on in that moment. What does it feel like? Okay, if you're all putting yourself in the shoes of a person, the sun is everywhere I go. This. I hope you're enjoying watching me dodge this thing. Hold on a second. I'm going to move my drink. I'm going to move the table. See if I can do this without dumping my computer. Okay. Yeah, put yourself in that situation. What is that like to have that moment, that shock of recognition? Who's this? I mean, does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Does it feel ordinary? Does it feel weird?
All of the above. For me, it would be all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends a little on if there's. No. Sorry, I have no words.
Okay. I mean, it's strange. It's an unusual situation. My old teacher Nakchang Rinpoche used to do these workshops where in preparation for the workshop, you had to gather photographs of yourself from all different eras of your life. So, here you are as a baby, here you are in, kindergarten or something, here you are, right, as a teenager, whatever you got. And then you come to the workshop and you have all your photos and you would lay them out and you would contemplate them. You would look at them, and of course he would walk you through the thing. But the kind of the gist of it was like, well, where am I? Where's the I in all of this? Here's this face, this person, this persona. That word persona literally means mask in Greek. Here's this persona, here's this visage, this appearance, this countenance. Here's this one, here's this one, here's this one. Where's the I in all of that? And, from a Buddhist perspective, or putting it in Buddhist vocabulary, it's, the discovery, it's a very kind of concrete introduction to anatta, which means not self, that there's no self in any of that. There's just all these changing appearances. And you contemplate, well, okay, when I had that face, what were my attitudes? What did I think about? What was urgently important to me? Getting through a day at kindergarten without wetting my pants or something. And then, later on, different things are more urgently important, and then different things, and so forth. So where's the I? Where's the self in all of that? And from the Buddhist point of view, you find out, well, there isn't any. From the Hindu point of view, it's the same discovery, but it's put in language that makes it sound like the opposite, right? You find out that instead of anatta or anatman, no, not self, you find atman. You find the self, which is not any of that stuff, which is the silent witness, the boundless awareness that is the witness of all those faces. It's not any of those faces. It's that which experiences all those faces. Either way, it comes to the same thing, I think. I mean, Hindus and Buddhists will argue about this long after we're all dead, but it seems to me they gotta be having the same experience, just expressing it differently. So none of that is you, right? And it to me, it feels like there's some flavor of that in this one. The old album, Not Recognizing My Own Young Face. At first you don't go, oh, that's me. And it's because it's not you. You were kind of right the first time, right? That's just some person. That's just isn't it interesting? The moment it goes from, oh, just one other person to, oh, wait, that one's me. Do we consider ourselves just another person? Just one more persona amongst the personae? No, we're the special one. Out of all those persons, 7 billion persons on the planet, one of them has a special name tag. Hi, I'm the self. Right? Everyone else has the name tag. 7 billion people have the name tag that say, hi, I'm just another person. And only one person out of 7 billion gets the one that says, hi, I'm the self. And we all agree on that situation, except we all disagree about who gets the special name tag. I'm positive it's me. Bob thinks it's Bob. Right? Louisa thinks it's Louisa, but Bob and Louisa are completely, and the other 7 billion are all clearly confused, because it's very clear to me that I'm the self. I'm the one experiencing all of this. Right? The rest of you're just people. Kristen, are you?
No, I was trying to imagine what I've been thinking about this very topic a lot lately.
Right.
Aren't there some people though, like perhaps the people that might join cults, that would think like Dean is still the special one? They'd be like, he's the leader. I mean, aren't there isn't there a pile of people who who have, in a really odd way, never formed their special. I mean, and maybe that's why, like, someone like myself feels like I have to hold on to the specialness because, you know, I'm fighting against maybe women who haven't had enough self-worth or that sort of thing over the years. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think the sense in which I'm using this word, the sense in which I'm talking about specialness, is maybe a little bit more fundamental than what you're talking about, right? It's not that,
Yeah, that makes sense.
you know, you're talking about, okay, is there self-worth? Am I a worthy self? Am I a strong self? And all that. What I'm talking about is a priori to that, right? Is prior to that, which is just, am I self? Am I the self? Am I the experiencer? Because clearly everyone else is experienced, right? Out of all these 7 billion people, I can only really feel the pain of one of them, right? Something's going on in this shoulder, I feel it. Something's going on in your shoulder, it has no reality for me. I can try, oh, Kristen, I'm so sorry, but if I have a choice, whether it's happening to you or to me, so long, sucker, good luck, right? This is how we are. And to break out of that, and that's why, you know, that's a very big emphasis, especially in Mahayana Buddhist practice, is how that's a kind of a jail cell to be, that, you know, that selfishness that comes out of that selfness, right? There's something so small, and when we see people who are really like that, who are like caricatures of that, everything is about them, right? And it's so grotesque, right?
Yeah, it's
so,
like being in a cage. It's like an ego cage.
oh yeah,
Very
yeah.
sad.
We just had 4 years of a president like that, right? Where people are dying from this virus, and it's about, oh, if we release, you know, are these numbers making him look bad? You know, I mean, to me, that's maybe you know, the one compensation of having had this fucking monster running the joint is that maybe we could use this as a mirror to see, oh, this is what that thing which we all do to some degree looks like. Here it's exaggerated so you can see it really clearly. Man, it's really yucky. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, as soon as you taught me the X on the spider's stomach, I immediately thought of, that was my first, like, this is the first one to use it on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so interesting to me how it's a certain narcissism, you know, and it seems, not to get into politics, but it seems that internationally there's a strong wind blowing towards wanting people who have that strong narcissistic charismatic quality, which is almost the antithesis to the pure being, you know, that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know how society could congeal, although certainly the Dalai Lama and the Buddhist societies were able to, but the reality and the hopes and prayers for what could be seem very far away from each other.
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole topic, how it happens, why it happens that people can feel attracted to this kind of character, could support this kind of character, where, you know, if you spend, you know, 10 minutes reading about what's actually, you know, I mean, on a rational level, who would actually think, you know who would be really a good person to put my fate and the fate of my children and grandchildren in his hands? The proprietor of Trump University, right? Rationally, that makes no sense. So to me, what that tells us is that it's not logic. There's no logical appeal, and that means it's something deeper. It's a psychological appeal. And as far as I've been able to, contemplate this thing, and I see everything through the lens of Dharma. I see everything through the lens of everyone is seeking enlightenment in every moment, or the closest facsimile to it that they can come up with. When you go for the ice cream cone, when you go for the orgasm, when you go for the Beethoven, this is what we're looking for is nirvana. The closest to it we can come in a given moment. In the case of our, world situation, it's so complicated. The interactions between people are so complicated. There's so many constraints to everything that we do as individuals and societies. If I do this, if I buy an electric car, it's going to cost more money, but it's going to impact this and blah, blah. It's like there's too much. There's too much. And so if someone comes along and goes, no, it's simple, like if you had and you may have, like a brother-in-law who shows up at Thanksgiving, and on the second cup of wine, he starts saying, you know what they should do? I know how to fix all these problems. Should just build a big freaking wall off the border. Yeah, that'll fix it, right? I mean, these completely stupid ideas. And then what if you took that stupid brother-in-law and you actually made him the president? That we saw that for 4 years. And 40-something% of the country still apparently thinks that was a great idea. It's unbelievable. It's completely science fiction. And to me, that means that there's this deep psychological thing that's talking to, which is, it's like, yeah, break all the furniture. We all somewhere inside want to break all the furniture, because that's a cheap substitute nirvana. Nirvana, everything's blown away. All the boundaries are blown away. We transcend logic, we transcend time, we transcend space, we transcend cause and effect. And if you don't know how to transcend, because transcending is very simple, as we know, it's very simple, but it's very subtle, it's very delicate. And most people are going to miss that thing. So they do this what appeals to them is this very clumsy substitute for, if you can't transcend all those boundaries, all the cause and effect, just smash it, right? That's the appeal of, like, heavy metal and all that kind of, crazy heavy metal culture and punk culture. It's just that kind of nihilism. This nihilism, it's kind of a, I'd say it is to genuine samadhi as, like, cheap rot gut liquor is to good stuff.
Okay.
It'll still get you high, but there's a lot of a lot of bad side effects. It'll completely screw up your body on the way, and there may be a lot of collateral damage to the bystanders.
Dean, what comes to my mind is,
Let me just ask, by the way, is this, because this is a thing I've been thinking about, and I haven't had a chance to say this to people much. Is this making sense? Are you hearing what I'm saying? Is this landing?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, yeah, who was saying something? Lisa? Yeah.
it reminds me of a biblical reference, and I'm the last one to be quoting the Bible, but when they were leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were moving You could probably help me with this.
Yes, this is
There-
Lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Lot was told that, okay, because he was a virtuous man, you get a pass out of here, but don't turn around, don't look.
So you're moving into the unknown.
Yeah.
And it's frightening to move into the unknown.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about nirvana, not in terms of a peak self-gratification experience, but nirvana is something that is really deep and lasting, and you know, that vertical sense. That's frightening because it's the unknown, and so you want to turn back and look at the known, all those peak experiences. And there's a narcissistic leader, whoever, charismatic person, who seems to be able to give you that sense gratification. So, to jump in without knowing what or where with this deep faith, is tremendous.
Yeah. I think Rupert Spira has said this about, because you do hear this, the fear of the unknown, and it sounds right, but there's something he points out about, which is you can't actually fear the unknown because you don't know the unknown. That's why it's called the unknown. So what we call fear of the unknown is actually fear of losing the known.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting? That's subtle, right? It's fear of losing the known. I think I brought this up in one of these sessions or something, but this was a thing I heard Adyashanti say at a retreat. But this woman got up and was talking about losing everything, essentially losing all the known stuff in her life. She'd lost her job, her family, her marriage busted up. She was now going to have to leave her town and move to Bakersfield, and she said, I don't know who I am anymore. And Adya said, yeah, refreshing, isn't it? And she said, well, it should be, but it isn't. It's frightening. Right? So there's that fear of the unknown, or fear of losing the known. And Adya said, well, let me put it this way. He said, the first time you jump out of a plane when you jump out of a plane without a parachute, the first time, so that's funny. He said, when you jump out of a plane without a parachute the first time, he says, you're going to be going like this, right? You're clawing, right? And, it's very panic inducing, right? He says, but just imagine, so you're doing that, you're plummeting toward the earth, you're doing that, looking to hold on to something that's not there. And now here's a guy over here that's just fallen out of another plane. But instead of falling like this, he's falling like this. What's the difference? What's the difference? You're both going wherever you're going, and you don't know where you're going. That's why it's called the unknown. But this guy's having a better time. So he may as well do that. Right? And of course, that's where we are really all the time. We're all in free fall all the time. Right? We don't know what's going to happen in the next breath, if we get to a next breath. That's why it's good to smell the chrysanthemums here halfway up or halfway down the stairs here in the bardo. All right. May all beings swiftly realize how much fun it can be plummeting through space. Thanks, guys. Have fun.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Have a good
Enjoy.
week.
Enjoy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dean.
Enjoy being.
Fun.